Have you ever noticed how much you say, I think we should go with this approach, I think this might work, I think 1 + 1 equals 2? You keep using I think to leave a room to be proven wrong, even when you know that what you said is true. You use it because you believe there is a 0.01% chance that you might be wrong. It annoys you, but you don't seem to be able to get rid of it. Welcome back to Dose of Confidence. I'm Anne, and today we're talking about self-doubt. What is self-doubt? The imposter syndrome? Why do we feel it? How to overcome it? First, I want to make a small confession. I often use AI to write my scripts. Of course, I modify it and add my own touch, but it was mostly AI. And since we're talking about self-doubt today, I thought I'd try and be brave and write my own script for today's video to set a good example for overcoming our own self-doubting thoughts and not letting them control our actions. So I apologize in advance if it's not well constructed, and I know you would be kind and put up with me as I learn to be better at it. What is self-doubt anyways? Self-doubt is when you keep questioning yourself, your capabilities, even though you are successful, even though you are doing well in your work and you constantly hear good feedback, you keep thinking that if they really knew me, they would think I'm a fraud. I don't deserve to be here. If they really knew how little I know, they would fire me. You think so little of yourself, even when you don't have evidence that something is wrong. And when you hear some praise, you are quick to dismiss it, to think it was luck or it was other people's help that got me here. And when this becomes the normal thought process, it starts turning into imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome is exactly what it sounds like. It's feeling like an imposter, like you don't deserve to be here, and you'd be exposed someday when they find out that everyone is better than you, and you're not nearly as good as them. You are just faking it. And people working in corporate jobs are very prone to it. I used to work in software, and I got this imposter syndrome even when I didn't know what it was called. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You walk into a meeting, people are using big words, complex terms, lots of acronyms, and you try to keep up. You try so hard to understand what they are talking about, but no matter how hard you try, you find yourself understanding about 10% of what they're saying. So you start nodding. Just do not let it show that you need more clarification, lest they think that you are not good enough to be here. And your immediate thoughts are, I'm really not good enough to be here. These people are more skilled and better than me. I would never be as good as them. And you totally neglect that they might have been in the project long before you, that they might be more experienced, or they have had access to information you don't have yet. I have been there, and when I talked honestly and opened up to some of my colleagues about it, I found out that almost everyone have had the same feelings at some point. Almost everyone have had these exact thoughts, and they too felt alone in it. That makes you realize that it's okay to ask questions that you usually are scared to ask, because you didn't want to be the guy who asks obvious questions. And I have noticed that most people usually have the same questions. They're just waiting for someone brave enough to ask them, because they are having the same insecurities about themselves. But why are we like this anyways? Why is our first thought in these situations is, I'm not good enough? I believe it's a mix of low self-esteem combined with perfectionism and maybe a dash of our childhood. As always, self-esteem is basically what you think about yourself, your internal image about who you are. If you have low self-esteem, if you always put yourself down and constantly have negative self-talk, of course the first thing that would pop into your mind at any lack of knowledge is, I'm such a stupid person. When the slightest thing goes wrong, you start torturing yourself, and a mistake becomes a proof of the negative thoughts you keep believing about yourself. However, if something went well, you trust this because of any external element, except for your own effort. And perfectionism is the fuel for self-doubt. A perfectionist wants a 100% result, so nothing is ever complete or good if it's less than 100%. And even though you understand that nobody is perfect, that absolutely nothing is perfect, you still chase that all the time. So you believe that your effort, no matter how great, doesn't really count unless you get that 100% result. And of course, the origin of everything is our childhood. If the love you received was conditional, if it was dependent on your actions, your effort, your school degrees, or how much you helped around the house, if you were constantly criticized about the smallest of things, if you were meant to believe that nothing you do is good enough, of course you would grow up to be constantly feeling like not enough. A small note though, as we talk about our childhood, let's make it clear to ourselves that we want this to be a journey for healing rather than blaming our parents, that no matter what they did, healing is possible and God can heal everything. To understand that our parents were just human beings, let's put it into our hearts to forgive their faults, or at least to pray to forgive and to pray to move forward. As we grow in our careers or in our lives, we enter new circles, we meet new people who are often more skilled than us, who often know more and maybe are smarter than us. That can make us feel a bit inferior, but instead of thinking, I'm not the smartest person in the room anymore, we can think of it as an opportunity to grow and learn from others. So how should we deal with this? What should we do when we get these self-doubting thoughts? The first line of action is to identify these thoughts and start rewriting them. These thoughts are often feelings. When you think, everyone here is better, I don't belong, this is just you feeling anxious. And it doesn't really mean that you don't belong. It just means that you are unsure and you want to be better. Feelings are not evidence. And stop treating mistakes like failures. I know it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways. Everyone makes mistakes. In work, in life, or in decisions. I know it hurts when we are disappointed in ourselves, but even though we might feel this way when we make a mistake, we can accept our feelings and also learn from the mistake and move forward. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. You would never tell a friend that they are a failure, that there are better people than them. Be kinder to yourself. It also helps to share these thoughts. You'll often hear me too when you share them. And please understand that your self-worth is not about your skills. It's not about your knowledge. It's not about how much money you have. It's not about your job or even your relationships. You are worthy because you are a human being that God has loved very much and decided to create. Because He loved you, you are worthy no matter what you do. Self-doubt doesn't mean that you do not belong or that you're not good enough. It just means that you care and you want to be better. We can't prevent these thoughts and we can't control when they suddenly appear, but we can decide to not let them control our lives, to not let them define who we are, and to be courageous enough to do things even when we are actively having these self-doubting thoughts. If this video helped you, feel free to subscribe and share it with someone who might need it. And let me know what other topics you'd like to hear about next. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.